Yo, what's up, folks? This is Dave Wood. This is going to be part two of my last video, just because the camera, the internet interrupted me or something like that. So, in any case, I'm talking about the situation America's in, where we look good, we smell good, but we've got all sorts of like looming problems that are just they're compounding. They're exponentially compounding like the compounding interest. We've got problems where people are having. I've noticed that society in general is having a growing dissatisfaction with certain things that are going on, and it's headed for violence. I talked about this on my YouTube channel. It's headed for violence and implosion. That's where it's headed. My brother Will has believed for a long time that we've been headed for civil war, and we have a civil war right now in the United States, and I'm talking the amount of people who will die is just not going to be pretty. It could be tens of millions. And that could lead to famine. That could lead to us getting invaded by foreign nations, and it could literally lead to the collapse of America. I promise you, I know who knows that is Donald Trump knows that. It's very easy to just sit back and to say, oh, well, that hasn't happened yet, so it's not going to happen. Our currency will be here forever because it's been here for the last 200 years. Well, no, our currency system right now has been here for like 100 years. And actually, fiat currencies always collapse. They always end in the collapse of civilizations. It seems like before we allowed this, people would have read history, but, I guess society has been dumbed down enough. We got things going on, like, for example, still, after all the evidence and all the science behind how it hurts the brain, we've got fluoride being put in the water supply. You know what I mean? Because it does something to the teeth or whatever is why they do it. But it also does something to the brain. It makes you more stupid. Like, I had an issue with this a little while ago because I drink so much water, right? Like, I drink copious amounts of water. Like, I drink like buckets of water a day. I drink like 3 gallons of water a day, something like that. Like, I drink a lot of water. And I was like getting distracted all the time. I was like, why are my thoughts wandering so much? And I couldn't figure it out. And it's because I wasn't filtering my water. And I looked it up. And of course, I knew this before. It was because of the fluoride that's in the water supply. And so, I got like a little filter and I filtered it out. And then immediately my thoughts were more clear. And immediately I stopped wandering all over the place when I was talking and things like that. Because I was just drinking so much water, and now all of a sudden I had the fluoride out of my system, and my brain is like a million times more clear from it. So we've got this dumbed down. They used to put fluoride in the water in Nazi Germany to dumb people down and make them more likely to submit to the government. They probably put more fluoride than we put in the water, but maybe not. It's a tool from the elite to dumb down society. So we got fluoride in the water, which is making Americans stupider, and it makes them not want to rebel as much and stuff like that when they drink this. So now we've got, people that are drinking filtered water that doesn't have fluoride in it, like a lot of bottled water and whatever. But the reality is that in addition to that, we're like, look how much even here, like, look how much pavement there is. You know what I mean? Like, how long can we keep doing this before we just pave over all of nature? You know what I mean? There's something valuable to having pavement and having roads and stuff like that, because cars can move faster and stuff like this, but there's also something that just messes up the world. I mean, we got so much pollution and so much demineralization of the soil going on that you're talking about, like, we're headed for an implosion where there's no food and there's no water, right? Does anybody realize that is where society is headed if we don't change? Does anybody realize that? I mean, I think a lot of environmentalists realize it, and a lot of other people just ignore it, and they're like, well, we got so much more land to make desolate. But there's nothing new about cities going desolate and lands going waste. I mean, cities have done this for, thousands and thousands and thousands of years. This has happened where you've got a city and then it goes desolate and the food supply dries up and the land gets to, the soil gets demineralized and then the whole society collapses in violence, from dumb currency. This kind of thing happened in Rome. It happened, to lots of great ancient civilizations. And so we're no different, and we're living in this place where, like, we've got the American dream is a fantastic dream because it's a land of opportunity, but how long can a land of opportunity last when the debt is exponentially compounding to a point where pretty soon just the payments on the debt are going to be like more than the national produce. We're not going to be able to pay that stuff off, right? That's the plan, is to make America broke so it can be invaded by other nations, and so all sorts of stuff, so it can be destroyed. I mean, this is what people have been planning for years. I promise. It takes a very long time to collapse an economy that's very prosperous, such as America. And so, we got like Donald Trump in there, and he's like shutting things down like left and right and pushing it back. But at the same time, look at the national debt clock. What do we added? Like $3 trillion or something like that for the national debt, over the last couple of years. And so, and here's the thing with debt is the more debt there is, the faster it compounds. So the bigger the interest payments get. And now all of a sudden, right, society has nothing but debt, right? And then who are the rich ones? The rich ones are the bankers, right? And then all of a sudden we have no money, and our money's not worth anything. And all of a sudden, the demineralization of the soil catches up to us, and then disease starts starts spreading all over society. Because the reality is why do people get diseases in society? I'll tell you something. It's about demineralization. Most of the things that people think cause diseases don't really, or they're not really the root cause of disease. I'd say that bad emotional energy is the emotional root cause of disease, and then on a physical level, you would have demineralization and the improper balance of nutrients, and that's basically. And then things like exercise and fresh air, and there's chemicals in the air and stuff like that that can add to this. But the reality is that what causes most disease, I'm going to tell you something, it's demineralization. I mean, I read Gabriel Cousens' books back when I was a kid, and back when I was a returned Mormon missionary and I was a raw foodist. I read like a bunch of his books. He was my rabbi for a little while, great rabbi. And Gabriel Cousens, he talks about this in his books about how demineralization causes most disease. Like, so for example, when I was a kid, I got some herpes broke out because I kissed some girl, and I was dancing around. I was 4 years old or something like that. She had some breakout. I don't know where she got it. Probably from her family, from drinking out of a cup or something as a kid, right? But so so I kiss the girl, and then I have this thing in my face, and I used to get this medication, and I'd rub it on my skin, and I'd get these eruptions all the time, and they just keep coming, and I still get them. You know what I mean? I get them from time to time. And I'm still working on that, but the reality is I get them way less frequently, and I get rid of them super fast. You say, well, how do you get rid of them? What I do is I just take minerals, and I take a huge dose of minerals. Now be very careful with this if you're not familiar with nutrition, because there are certain minerals that can really cause problems in your biology if you overdose on them. But I don't have this problem. I just absorb the minerals in my biology, because of what I told you guys before. So in any case, it'll wipe this thing out in a couple of days. Now, if I stay sufficiently mineralized, here's the thing. I actually won't get them if I'm sufficiently mineralized. They won't even appear in my skin. They can't, because the alkalinity and the mineralization of the microbiology in the skin will just fight off the disease, right? So we have a major problem with the soils being demineralized in society because we're not letting the land rest, and we're not recycling minerals into it properly. And what do? Well, instead of fixing the problem, what society does is we say, oh, Monsanto, please save us. Please make genetically modified, put some lizard DNA in these genetically modified crops so we can, the lizard DNA inside of us, or whatever they're doing, right? To make it so bugs don't eat these demineralized, weak, nutritionally crappy ingredients. Oh, and can you take the seeds out for us and control us entirely to death? I mean, do you guys realize that if freaking those genetics got into nature into a sufficient level, that literally it could wipe out the food supply and the nature on the entire world, because nothing would be able to reproduce without seeds, and they don't have seeds, right? I mean, do you guys realize that the disaster that it can wreak on nature by getting rid of the seeds in nature and having those genetics crossbreed? And that's going on. This crap is already going on, and it could go on to a much, much, much worse extent. We're creating genetic disease in the plant population now because we're not willing to just solve the damned problem. You know what I mean? It's the most ridiculous thing ever. And people say well, why are you worried about this? The economy's prospering, we're making money, it's all this stuff. And this is all people care about. It's I just care about how much money I'm going to make tomorrow. Now, we need to be thinking. I'll tell you something. If we want to do something great, we need to be thinking about where is the world going to be a million years from now from what we're doing right now. That's how far in advance we need to be thinking. That's how far I need to be thinking. That's how far in advance I think. I think way farther in advance than that, actually, which is sometimes a problem, right? And then chunk it back to 1,000, and then chunk it back to the next 10, and say, what are we doing right now? And if we look at the system that if you look at what we're doing now, where's it going to result in a million years? I'll tell you, the whole Earth being desolate and dead, and the waters having nothing alive, and maybe humanity has built technology that's traveled to the stars to go and destroy another world. That's where humanity is headed if humanity doesn't change from the current thing that we're doing right now, mapped out over the next million years, right? And really, it's not even a million years. That could happen. That could happen in the next 50 years, because what happens when all of a sudden the economy collapses and people are dumping money in the streets and there's a drought, and then all of a sudden there's no water, and then all of a sudden there's no food? What happens is people are wandering in the streets, killing each other and eating each other's flesh for food. That's what guys, that's what happens. This has happened to societies in the past, right? And people don't want to hear it because they want to stay in this pretty land, and there's a lot of good people that are doing a lot of great things about it. And here's the thing, right? But my point is with this, okay, is that I've got a dream, and my dream is to make America righteous again, which is what it's about. It's about fixing all the core problems of society. Like everybody, they go and they pick off this thing and that thing and this thing and that thing, but attacking the root issue is a problem. Now, I'll tell you, one of the root issues that I think Donald Trump has done a good job of is getting rid of overfat legislation. Like, they've gotten rid of 3 laws for every law that's passed. And the reality is that's a good thing, because there's too many laws. And it's not about, that we don't need laws. It's like, these laws that we've got, they don't even protect the environment anyways. They don't even protect the future anyways. They're just stupid. They're stupid. They're stupid, overfat, dumb laws that just get rid of freedom and put people in a position where people, they can't freaking do what they want anymore, right? And so this is the problem, that if we continue down this path, right? If we continue down this path, now all of a sudden we're getting rid of legislation. Well, that's a good thing, and it makes people mad and stuff, because they're like, we need control. We need control. Why? It's like society's so stupid that we can't just narrow the laws down. I talked about this on my Facebook page, or I talked about it here, something like that, that if we can't reduce the national laws down to 100 pages, there's something wrong with the intelligence of society. And if we have the states add 10 pages, and then the cities add another 5 pages to that, or something like that, maximum. And if they can't reduce it down to that, here's the thing. Nobody's going to understand the laws anyways. Why do we have laws that nobody understands? They've got loopholes. Laws should have no loopholes in them. None. That's how many loopholes laws should have. They should have 0 loopholes, because we don't need income taxes in the first place. And if you don't have income taxes, there's no reason for the loopholes. But the reality is like, there shouldn't be, rivers with shit in them. You know what I mean? Like, you used to be able to drink out of the rivers, and now what do we got? We got rivers that are so filthy, right, that we gotta filter the water, and we gotta boil it, and we gotta add all these ingredients to it, and kill all the life in it, and destroy the chemical structure of it. You know what I mean? Like with just all this stuff that we gotta do, because the water is diseased water, just like humanity is diseased, right? The water is diseased water, just like humanity is diseased. And so the reality is the disease of the disease that human beings are creating by not being one with their environment. This is actually the problem. This is actually the problem. And is it gonna create less prosperity if we have clean rivers? No. Is it gonna create less prosperity if people do things in a way that's more integrated with nature, but they get faster permits, you know what I mean? And it's more checked and balanced by society, but less so by the government, No, it's not gonna cause prosperity issues to reduce legislation. It's not gonna cause issues with the environment if it's done in a holistic way. The problem is our system, it ain't holistic. It's not holistic. We don't have a system that is built in the love, right? The love of the natural environment that we're living in. We have a system that is built, it's entirely built on the love of money. And this is the problem. This is the problem. It's not that money's wrong, and it's not like making money's wrong, and it's not like prosperity's wrong. Prosperity is an amazing thing, right? But we need real prosperity with real money, with savings that stays real savings, where the value of your money in the bank doesn't exponentially decrease over a period of a year as your wealth is getting leaked into the pockets of the richest people in the world. We don't need this crap. What we need is a system where you put $1 in the bank, and then, you know, in 10 years that dollar's worth $2. You know what I mean? It's the value of it has increased. It has gone up because you've got real currency that's based in real tangible value, and America's making money, and so people trust the currency more, so the value of the currency goes up. That's what we need. So my point with all this is that I've got a dream, and my dream is to initiate a movement where I don't do it, we all do it together, where we fix this broken, diseased machine that is only focused on one thing. Right? And it doesn't matter. Look, here's the thing. We've got a bunch of environmentalists now, and what do? They go in there and they try to pass legislation that's going to like force the government to like monitor the amount of carbon dioxide that's emitted by your car and stuff like that. Like putting a tax, I mean, that could tax your breathing. You know what I mean? Putting a tax on carbon dioxide emissions, you know, it's not the solution to creating environmental balance. The solution is better checks and balance that are driven by a community-driven system that are that have really fast approvals, right? That get new technology built really fast, but that new technology is checked and balanced by people that actually care about their environment, and they get rewarded. They get rewarded for cleaning things up. See, right now we get rewarded for destroying things. We get rewarded for spending money. We need to be rewarded by saving. We need to be rewarded by investing. We need to be rewarded by producing. We need to be rewarded by cleaning up the environment that we're in. So the streets are so clean, you could cook a sandwich on it if it's hot enough, and then just pick it up and eat it because the streets are so clean. Like, we don't need to mess up the world to get what we want in society. So my point with this message, my main thing is that if you map out what we're doing over the next 1,000 years, especially over the next 1,000,000, you've got a desolate land with no life left, okay? And maybe life is restarting deep in the oceans or something like that, with no atmosphere. That's what we got if you map it out long enough. And people are like, I don't care because I'm not going to be alive by then or whatever, you know? I'm just enjoying my life and enjoying my... No, you're not. If you want to really enjoy your life... We gotta create an environment where people don't have to work all day and night in order to survive. You know what I mean? That's where we're at right now. 68% of your work goes back to the government in some form of crazy tax everywhere in the world right now. So if you're in the world, if you're not in the United States, it's the same thing. You know what we need? We need a government that profits, so that just doesn't exist. It wouldn't even be a problem. Anyways, I'm done with my rant. My point is, I've got a dream where we clean up the environment, everybody makes more money, and we are in a balanced society, right? A balanced society where we're not messing up our environment in order to exist. We're actually making the environment even better than it was before. That's how society needs to be. Like, we're supposed to have dominion over the earth, and we're supposed to take care of it. And the way that we take care of it is we could actually, it's very easy to do. We could make the environment better than it used to be before human beings walked on the earth. That's how society needs to be. We need to be making it better. We don't need to be screwing it up, right? How do we make it better? Well, I'll talk about that in future videos. But my point is if we do that, the world is going to be here in 1,000 years. If we don't do that, the world is not going to be here, and it's not going to be alive, and everything's going to be dead in 1,000 years. So what do you want? Do you want the world to be dead? Or do you want it to be alive, and do you want it to be prospering? Do you want the air to be clean? Do you want the children to be happy? Do you want futuristic societies that just keep growing and growing and growing and advancing? We can do that if we work together, right? Make sense? Rant over.